Hi, I apologize for the abrupt ending of the previous video, but it cuts you off at 15 minutes and I was not being cognizant of my time, and all of a sudden I looked down and realized that I had like 10 seconds to wrap it up. So I apologize. I was hoping to get to the what is your word, but we didn't get to. So one of the things that you're asked to do within the Google Classroom is to print off a PDF of a sheet that asks you what's your word, what really captures, what one word encapsulates what your goal is for this year. Now this is separate from, I know we just spent a while looking at annual goal and looking at your student data and looking at your student population and what intervention strategies would you be using to help you meet those achievement goals. This is separate from that. This is just simply when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling down because you feel like, I'm not meeting my goals. Are my students achieving? What am I doing? Why did I come to Bedford? Why did I become a teacher? Why did I leave my previous division? Or why did I leave my previous career? For those of you who are career switchers, I want you to print off that sheet and record your word and hang it somewhere in your classroom where you'll see it. And so when you're feeling disappointed or you're feeling down and you're feeling pessimistic, you can kind of look at that word and remember, no, this is my word. And the word that I would use for the 2018-19 year is growth. And so I might sketch a picture on my sheet of some flowers growing or a tree growing. But that would be the word that really captures my own personal goal for 18-19 school year, that I want to always be growing. I mentioned earlier that I never want to be stagnant. I never want to be stagnant in my practice or in my professionalism. I always want to be moving forward. I always want to be growing. So again, whatever your word is, take a few minutes, print that off, and record your word. You can decorate it however you want, but I really would encourage you to put it somewhere in your classroom that you can see it so that it can remind you, when you get overwhelmed by the student data and you get overwhelmed by the assessments and the lesson planning, that you remember this is my one word that really captures what I'm hoping to accomplish in Bedford County this year. Quickly, I want to remind you of our next meeting. It is a full day meeting, so you will need to go into Frontline. Again, you would go to Bedford County homepage and you would access the quick links and access Frontline where you can enter in your absence. And depending on where you work, if you work at an elementary school, the Alternative Education Center, or if you're assigned to the school board office, so that would be ITRTs are technically assigned to the school board office, that sort of thing. Instructional coaches are assigned to the SBO, the school board office. You would attend and request a substitute on Wednesday, September 26th. If you're a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, or you teach at the Bedford Science and Technology Center, you will go in and request a substitute for Thursday, September 27th. I will encourage you to go ahead and enter in these absences as soon as possible. The earlier you put in a request for a substitute, the more likely that it will be picked up. If you happen to work at a school that has a high number of new hires, we'll probably be reaching out to your principal and seeing if they would like to split their teachers. So if you're at a high school that's got 15 new hires, we may get them to split you and send half of you on the Wednesday date and half of you on the Thursday date. But we'll take care of that from an administrative side right now. Just assume that you will be coming on Wednesday if you're an elementary teacher at ALTED or school board office, and you'll be coming on Thursday if you're at a middle school, high school, or at BSTC. It will be a full day. That's why you'll need a full day substitute, and we will be meeting at CVCC, the Bedford location. That is not the CVCC, the Central Virginia Community College in Lynchburg. It is a Bedford location. And so you can Google that to make sure that you're going to the right location. As we get closer to that date, I will also be sending you an email reminder with the address and some additional details about that meeting. We'll be looking at unpacking, we'll be looking at writing objectives, what are the key components of lesson planning that we have to include in Bedford and why do we expect that. We'll be looking at county expectations and also state expectations. We'll also be looking at how we can most effectively serve our special education students. So I do want to remind you of our next meeting. Also, again, this is posted in our Google Classroom, and you can also, I've emailed it to you as well, but here are our meetings so that you can go ahead and get these on your calendar. The September and the November meeting are full days where you will need a sub. The remaining dates are after school, and you can see from 3:45 to 4:45, and they are all located at CVCC, the Bedford campus. Okay, and again, the September and November dates, you will only be attending one of those. You will not be attending 2 consecutive days. You'll attend one date in September based on your location, and you'll attend one date in November based on your school assignment. If you have, again, any questions about that, you can certainly email me. Okay. And lastly, just like you would do in your classroom, you start with your daily objective and you circle back to it at the end. We want to circle back to our objective. So hopefully after watching these videos, you better understand or beginning to understand your role and responsibilities in Bedford County. We've looked at goal writing, professionalism, recertification. We've looked at the Virginia Department of Education resources on their website, the resources available on Bedford County's website. You want to make sure that you access Bedford County's website under the instruction tab and access AIR pacing guide so that you know what are the expectations in Bedford for what you should cover and roughly how long you should cover it. Nobody's ever going to come into your classroom on November 13th and say, why aren't you teaching this curriculum on this day? But the pacing guides do give you a rough idea of how to pace yourself appropriately so that you ensure that your students get to examine all of the material. And then that measurable piece of our daily objective, we wanted to be able to locate 3 resources to prepare a standard-based lesson. We wanted to be able to craft a paragraph explaining recertification, and we wanted to feel prepared to have our initial goal meeting with our administrator. So within the Google Classroom, you'll see an assignment that asks you to craft a paragraph explaining the recertification process. You'll also see an assignment in Google Classroom that asks you to complete a 3-2-1. And so that is 3 things you learned today regarding accessing resources. What resources do you know that you can access from either the Virginia Department of Ed or Bedford County's website? Talk about what resources you've explored for your content area. 2 takeaways regarding professionalism. What are key things you need to be cognizant of when you think about professionalism in Bedford County? And 1 thing you still have a question about. And I will be looking through those questions so that way I can answer them either through email or in our upcoming meetings when we are together face to face. Again, also in Google Classroom is the word, your word for the year, where you can capture that kind of 1-word goal of what you hope to accomplish during your first year with Bedford County Public Schools. So I thank you for viewing the videos. Hopefully this was more efficient and took less of your time. We typically have a 3-hour meeting together face to face, so hopefully this was a little bit quicker. I know I had to go through the material fairly quickly. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. My goal is to support you in your transition to Bedford County, and so please email me. Again, I'm Sherry Weiss, the Supervisor of Social Studies and our mentor programs, and there you can see my email, sweiss@bedford.k12.va.us. So I look forward to seeing you. I will begin visiting classrooms. One of the expectations in my role is that I visit all of our new hires to just do an informal observation to provide you some informal feedback data to use in your own personal and professional growth. And so I will begin visiting classrooms over the next few weeks. Obviously, we have about 80 new hires, and so I will not get to all of you right away. But my goal is to see all of you before the first semester ends, and so it's informal. I will just pop in one day and hang out with you and your kiddos so that I can just give you feedback on how aligned your lesson is to the standards and your objective and your variety of assessment and instructional strategies. But again, it's just informal. My role is to support you. So I look forward to being in your classrooms, and if I don't see you in your classroom between now and our September meeting, I look forward to seeing you at our September meeting. Again, please don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions or concerns. I hope you have a fantastic year, and good luck on the first day of school.